Nobody said what, okay. And with those, we'll go ahead and call to order. Please rise for pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Lisa, can we have roll call?
Yes, Mike Womack,
Here.
Patty Drew,
Here.
TJ Hecox,
Here.
Ryan Dietrich,
Here.
and Jan Sonner.
Here.
Full board. Thank you. 3.0, board approval or changes to the consent agenda. I know we have one. We're going to be adding 8.2 basketball co-op agreement with Vernonia.
You say basketball?
Does anybody else have anything else? Take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
With 8.2 added,
What was that?
with the adding of 8.2.
Oh, yeah, sorry, with the adding of 8.2.
I'll
All in
second.
favor? Second, all in favor?
Did you second or were you just making
No, I
comments?
was just making comment that he added it in.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. We need to go through these.
I think just acknowledgement of the consent agenda is what.
Right, okay. So 4.0 public comment? No public comment? 5.0 financial report. Sandy, standing out, too big.
I reviewed it. I will move that we approve it.
Motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carries. 6.0 principal report.
Okay, thank you. This might take a few minutes because I have some exciting news to share. So, it's one of those like, where do I even start tonight? But I'm going to start with an article that Tammy shared with us a couple weeks ago from the Daily Astorian. And I don't know how many of you read the Daily Astorian, but it talks about student test scores on the North Coast remain stagnant, from this last school year. And Tammy had shared this out, and it's really good information because it shows, where the kids are at statewide. It shows all of Clatsop County where the school districts are at, which includes Jewel. And it was really good to see just kind of where Jewel's at. So statewide, so when we're talking about the, testing where, students being proficient in language arts, math, and science, statewide, 42.5% of all students demonstrated proficiency in language arts. And then Jewel is just slightly above that. We're stating that 43.6% that are proficient in language arts, up from 41% the previous year. And we're the only district to see an increase in language arts and within all the other districts in Clatsop County, which is good. And math statewide, 31% of students show proficiency. Jewel is 23.7, but that's up from 16.7 a year ago. So a 10% increase, trending in the right direction, which is good. And then statewide in science, 29.3% are proficient statewide. Jewel is 54.5 proficient, up from 42.3 the previous year. It showed that Seaside, I have to make sure that this is right. It said Seaside, 39% of students demonstrated proficiency in language arts, higher than any other district in the county, which I'm assuming that's an error, because actually Jewel sits above Seaside in that area, but we're the only district who saw an increase in all of our areas, from state testing last year. And so I just want to, it's a testament to what we're doing here. It's, to me, I'm going to say, trying to use the right words here. We still have a lot of work to do. This year, our testing scores are going to be higher, and then next year they're going to be higher. The next year they're going to be higher. Because I want that to continually to increase. But just a testament to our teachers and just kind of things that we're doing here. So I appreciated Tammy sending that out to the staff, to the community, because I pay that membership for the Daily Astorian and I don't read it. Monthly. But anyway, I just wanted to share that, with the board. And I think that's just something that we can celebrate. And I think there's a lot of reasons behind that. And again, I think this year, I think we're going to be way above that. I think our numbers are percentile. I really believe we're going to increase much more going into this year. And I really just, when I look at the state of our district right now compared to where we were at a year ago, we're ahead of where we were at a year ago. Mr. Peterson and I talk about this all the time. I still think back to last September and last October, and it's a blur. There was so much going on in this district last year, just the challenges, the behavior issues that we were having. And this year it's a completely different deal. I think it's just the work that we've been doing. We spent the majority of last year, and a lot of our PDs as a group, as a community, with everybody, working on the climate and culture of the school. And I remember, I believe I was telling Mr. Peterson when I was hired on, my focus was climate and culture first year, not academics, obviously, but really that focus was climate and culture. In order to get a grasp on that, really, I believe what's most important. And then in year two, I'm calling this year two, working on the academics. And I think because of what we've done with the climate and culture and where we're going with it, we still have challenges, don't get me wrong, but we're at now compared to a year ago, I believe, it plays a part in this. Because in the springtime last year, as things turned for us and we started really clamping down, utilizing our student code of conduct a lot more, I think really helped with our academics last year, but now this year we're really starting to focus on academics, with our district-wide testing that we just started, and we have our first round of results in. And but when I'm looking at the Swiss data, and I kind of look by at a year by year, which would be last year, and just kind of where we're at this year, we are in a completely different spot. Last September, we had, let's see if I get this, I want to make sure I get this right here. Came out of a meeting just a little bit ago, so I was kind of rushed to get the stuff down here. So last September, we had 40 referrals that came in September. We had 19 days in the month of September with 40 referrals. We averaged 2.1 referrals per day. And that's a mix between minor and majors. And then this year in September, we have one extra day, we have 20 days, and we have 30 referral counts. So we're averaging about 1.5. But a lot of those referrals, I think 14 of them are tardies. A lot of our tardies, disruption is pretty minor, classroom managed things. But as of now, nothing really, we've had a couple of incidences, but nothing major compared to where we were at a year ago. Last October was a challenge, and Mr. Peterson can attest to that. It was an interesting month last year. And so, when I look back to October of last year, we had 50 referrals in the month of October. We averaged 2.4 referrals a day. This year, we're at 27, averaging 1.2 referrals a day. And again, these are much more minor referral infractions than, the 9 investigations I had going at one time last year in October. We had a lot of stuff going on last year. And I think, a big, I can continue on, and just showing you more data. I have this stuff. If you want to see it, I'll give you a copy of it just so you see the referrals by behavior, by the month, anyway, I can give you this data. If you would like it, I can print off copies and give it to you. But I just think that, with the work that we did last year with as a staff and with our climate and culture team from Northwest Regional ESD, all the PDs we did last year, student voice. It wasn't just us. It wasn't just, our teachers and staff, but we brought in student voice. Like, what do we want our school to look like? And we came up with, with these expectations, by the end of the school year, we had enough information, what's Jewel going to look like? And that was with student voice. And you heard me say last month, we spent the first 2 days going over behavior expectations with our students, all grade levels. We walked around to the school, from hallways to the gym, to the cafeteria, to the auditorium. Just kind of using this example, you'll see these posted, all throughout the hallway in all the areas. These are our expectations that our students helped put us together, last year. And I really believe, with their voice, their commitment, I think that's why we see a big difference this year. And I think that's why we're at where we're at. And it's just going to continue to get better because, yes, we're focusing on academics, but we still focus on that climate and culture as well, because we still have a lot of work to do. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, that things are much better, not the best. We still have challenges, but from a year ago, we're way ahead of where we could. And I believe that is because of the work that we're doing, our staff utilizing the student code of conduct on a daily basis, working with my staff when things come up, and being consistent with them. Most importantly is being consistent, following through on what the student code of conduct said, walks us through. And I think this has played a big part in that. If you have any more questions about that, please let me know. And then district testing. We just had our first round of STAR testing, and with math and reading. Again, this is information that if you want more detailed information, I would love to share it with you. Just let me know. I can send it to you. I can through secure email or meet with me, and I can go over more of this with you. But right now, our elementary is doing fairly well depending on the grade. We get into the up, kind of like the middle levels, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade. There's some struggles. Our 11th and 12th graders doing fantastic when we look at the data. Then we talk about, we have the discussion, why are our 7th, our 8th, and 9th and 10th graders, especially our 9th graders, struggling, with our district-wide testing right now. Or sorry, when we look at the testing and we look at the information, there's many factors, so we're having that discussion. Yeah, we can go back to COVID. These kids were 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th graders when COVID hit 4 years ago, and now they're 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th graders, right? That learning loss, living on packets and it's not the teachers, it's just the system. We experienced that same thing at the beach across Mastoria, where I came from. It's the same thing. But a lot of good information is coming from these reports, because now we can identify exactly where these students are at. And I think November 6th, I think we have I'm looking at you, Abby, sorry.
I was at the window, the winter testing.
Okay, we'll come up on winter testing soon, but we have from Renaissance, we will do another PD with our staff, and what they're going to do now is go through with our staff. Now, what do we do with the data? Now that we have this, now what is that like? What do we do? Yes, Patty.
When you say district testing, is that just us testing our own children
Yes.
so that we have an idea of where they're going and how
Yep.
they're progressing, just within our district?
Correct.
So it's nothing from state or
We're
nothing
not
from.
comparing
Okay.
to anybody else. Yeah, this is just Jewel.
And where do you get the test? I mean, is it something that you guys have worked out to test these kids with? Or is there a standardized test that you're pulling from?
It's a platform. It's,
Oh,
it's an organization called Renaissance.
Okay.
And so we use their platform
Okay,
and yeah.
okay.
Yeah. It's, any questions about that? But I'm excited for the training that we have for the PD, for our staff on the 6th. So then now they'll really be able to get in, and the data goes much deeper than just the surface stuff here. But they'll be trained on how to really go into the depths of that data, and then they can focus on exactly what the kids are struggling in, both reading and math, and then we can start working on them, getting them up to grade level where they need to be.
And then are we able to adjust our curriculum for those kids to bring them up to par?
We have supplemental stuff that
Okay.
we can use. We have we have a CBM in that.
We don't use, we have IXL. They use as a supplement for that, but within STAR, you can actually assign further assessments to build progress in certain areas.
That's where I was going with that. Yeah.
Is this the first year we've had this kind of testing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Now, previously, I'm not sure with the district, if there was ever been a district-wide testing, but we talked about this last year, and it's something that I would love to have implemented last fall, but there was so much going on in September, just the busyness of last year that we decided to wait, because we just needed to focus on some other areas.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Can I jump in really quick,
Yeah, you bet.
because I don't have anyone around here who can express that, and I know we've got some people in the crowd here also that are involved with it, but we've been spending all of last year doing the MTSS stuff, as Mr. Scott mentioned. That's about just general school-wide initiatives, I guess, per se. And I know, the union president here, Mr. Ray, talked about RTI, and that's response to intervention. So you mentioned, what do we do with information, especially for kids, try to get them up to that level. And there's a major gap in the district again, that we don't have here. Teachers have their own things that they do within their classrooms to kind of build their kids up to where they need them, accommodations and whatnot. But we don't have anything identified universally through the district. And so that is something we're literally fresh jumping into right now, which is how to respond to interventions at specific levels. So for example, everyday classroom learning is at a certain level, and then you jump to like level 1, level 2, level 3s, and the higher numbers you go, up 3 is the highest you go. That's the most increased level of interventions you have for a student. But we're at the very, very beginning stages, and this is something where, we've been talking last Wednesday, we're going to be building something throughout the whole year, putting a bandage on something through this year. Like I'm looking at this guy again, putting a bandage on something this year to help some of our kids who are either struggling or well beyond whatever. And you hear me say something later on in my report about that, why we put a product in place for next year implementation for an RTI. And again, I'm speaking in acronyms to you, but that is a universal system that a lot of school districts utilize to help support kids.
Because if we don't have some kind of program to help these kids struggling, and I know that the poor teachers, they can't do, you've got 10, all these kids in the classroom, and you've got this group, how do you maintain this group and still help this group and help this group? It's very difficult.
And that's where this gentleman I've talked also about, both you and I have probably I'm hoping the largest knowledge of the district, if that makes sense. And there's so many fires.
Mhm.
And I try to be respectful. Yes, things are better by far this year, but there's so many fires that, again, you and I had a conversation where we put out a fire, but by putting out a fire, you open up the doorways to explore and open up new avenues. And once you do that, you find more fires inside. And so we're trying to come up with the idea that, yes, for us, there's lots of fires going on in the district, but there's so many more also because we're starting to unearth things and building things, which gets teachers and staff excited because now they see, oh, now can we do this? Oh, that's not there. And so we're trying to make the best bang for our buck this year by focusing on some of the largest components, very well knowing that there's so many other fires. You can't tackle it all in a year.
No.
So these are some of the biggest ones we're tackling right now.
I think just being aware of this and building towards that, that's the number one to get everything to work. And it's not going to happen overnight. So
While it's a challenge, it's very exciting at the same time because there's much more potential here and where this thing's going and where it can go. And so, while there's a lot of stuff going on, it's there's opportunity and I think a good road ahead with where we're going with it.
How are we on track for seniors this year for graduation?
I think 100%. Yeah, we 100%. I don't, not seeing any issues with any of our seniors.
How many do we have this year?
11.
Wow.
And they had the best for our district testing. They had in English and math. I can double check, but I think they had the best scores ever. Our juniors and seniors are doing fairly well.
Good.
Yeah.
Good news.
Mhm.
Okay, that'll bring us to 7.0, old business. We had 7.1 policy update, our second reading. Has everybody had a chance to go through those? Any questions?
Straightforward.
We could go that. Does anybody want to make a motion and read the policy into record?
Do you want to do the one IKE by itself and then do the others by themselves?
Yeah, I would do each one individually.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve policy IKE, promotion and retention of students, and IKE-AR, promotion and retention of students, as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Brings us to our number 2 policy. JHCCF. Any discussion on this one?
What we are deleting
Yeah, because it needs to be deleted.
Okay.
and then adding AR that is not present.
This was the new one.
This one doesn't say delete.
It's printed very lightly on the second one.
Oh.
It's
Oh,
very
this one.
lightly.
It's,
Yeah,
yeah, I see it now.
you-
Thank you. All right, I move that we accept policy JHCCF and delete the old one.
I'll second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carries. Okay. We bring us to 8.0, new business. 8.1, division standards.
All right, so if you are new to this, I'm just going to read what it says here by OER district assurances of compliance with public school standards each year by November 1st. Superintendents must have this requirement to report to the community on the district status with respect to all the standards for public elementary and secondary schools. And the standards are adopted by the State Board of Education set in Oregon Administrative Rules, Chapter 581, Division 42. And so I will not go through every single one of these. I will hit a few. Last year, we were not compliant with 3 of them. So when that takes place, the Oregon Department of Education does reach out to the district and start asking us for plans of what we're going to do to put these implement these into the district's future here. So the first category is teaching and learning, and the subcategory is curriculum and instruction. And so I go online and I will take each one of these and it talks to you through what you need to have for the district. And so I spent some time going through all of these and we are in compliance with all of them. I do want to make a note on the second page though of the Division 22, the third one down, comprehensive school counseling. That now officially says in compliance. It was not in compliant last year. I just want to make sure you physically see that it's there. The 2 beneath that, the elementary grades, the middle school grades for physical education requirements, we're definitely keeping track of that as well as things change every few years on those. Instructional required time also, that's a question I get quite often. That is the sixth one down. And just like to keep everybody acknowledged on this one, is not the same amount of hours for a K through 12 building. I think people think that our students have the same amount of hours requirements, but it's not. K through 8 requires 900 hours a school year. To be compliant, 9th through 11th is 990 hours. And for 12th graders, it is 966. So when we go to the points where if we have lost school days and whatnot for the district, that's why we have some ebb and flow with their days sometimes, because it's based off the requirement of hours that our students have by the state of Oregon. Another one that we were not in compliant, and I'm going to mention it here, third from the bottom up. It says 581-022-2500 programs and services for TAG students. We have not been compliant. We have not had a TAG program, a talented and gifted program for our district, a requirement of every school district. And I believe since I'm just going to take a stab here, 2018, somewhere around there, 2017 is the last time I could find any information about our TAG program. So the district over the summer in July put together, based off of ODE, I keep saying ODF, I apologize, ODE stuff. This is a new template. So even if we have the old template from the district from 2017, it didn't fit suit with what we have. So the district is just starting to roll this out. Where compliant is on our website. If you put it on there way back in, I think August, we've had it on there. But we are going to be going through it, at least 4 staff members starting tomorrow, 8 in the morning. We're going to start working through it. And basically the identification process, like I said, we put it together, but we never put it in use. So this will be our first time ever doing so for the district. But yet again, I'm going to say, as Mr. Scott said, another positive direction for the district. If you want to find this, it's on our webpage under ODE requirements, and you'll see our talented gifted program there.
Do we have students lined up for the TAG program?
Well, that's part of what we're doing is identification process.
Okay,
We have one that we're going to work through to see if this is going to be a proper
perfect.
procedure to make it work here.
Okay.
Okay, let's see, third page, assessment and reporting. Just going to kind of go through these. You can see a couple items have been on here for a number of years. They will be waived all the way until the 28-29 school year. Everything else is in compliance. Next page, again, if you have questions on any of them, please yell. Subcategory program and service requirements. Again, there's the identification of academically talented and intellectually gifted students. That follows suit with the previous one I mentioned, so those both are now considered compliant by the state of Oregon. And then the last one, the Menstrual Dignity for Students, Menstrual Dignity Act, that has not been compliant with the district for quite a while, I'll put it that way. So we're making that change with the state of Oregon. High school diploma subcategories, everything in there is compliant, has been since at least I've been in the seat here. Then you get into the green category, health and safety, subcategory policies and practices as we go through those. Reading everything I have on all the information, again, we are compliant. I don't want to get too much into details unless you want me to. Again, subcategory plans and reports, health and safe school plans. I mean, so we have these plans in motion, doesn't mean we're not still looking at them. I'm looking at Abby, for example. We're talking about the emergency operation plan for the district. At some point, we're doing a kind of a review, a little bit of at least a discussion point at our safety team meeting this Thursday. I know we have a lockdown drill that is Thursday as well. So we're continuing by the state of Oregon, making sure that we follow through with what we're supposed to be doing here. Subcategory athletics and interscholastic activities on the next page. We are in compliance with that after speaking with Freeman. And then category district performance and accountability in red. So the district improvement plan, that is heavy work that we're continuing to work through right now with the integrated guidance work, student investment account, high school success, all the parts that are the integrated guidance. That if you were on the board last year in the audience, you would have heard a report from me about the integrated guidance, IG as they call it. And you'll definitely be getting a massive report about it a couple times this year as well. I believe the next round is due in April, so you guys will hear about it before then as well. Let's see, the next page, everything else is still compliant in that category. The human resources staffing, same thing under daily class size. And we're talking about personnel, including policies and teacher evals. I know with Mr. Scott getting ready to be scheduled. We talked about that today, getting teachers scheduled for the evals for this school year. And then our standards, fingerprinting, I know Elise works a lot with the aspects of onboarding of new staff and whatnot. And then teacher training related to dyslexia. We have some grant funds through our early childhood literacy grant that we will continue to not just have one of our elementary teachers physically trained, but we're working on getting all of them trained this year. For dyslexia, different trainings for different teachers here. So I'm happy to report, in my eyes, and I've signed off on this, and I'll be sending something to the state of, ODE, by November 1st. Once again, stating that yes, we're compliant. We need to have this on our website, so Abby, assuming the board is okay with this and approves moving forward with this, as I presented, we'll get this on the website. And that concludes at least the November deadline. And I think I need the wrong date. I have to report something by, I don't know if it's in this document, but sometime in the next couple weeks to ODE to make it official for Division 22. Again, if you want more information, let me know, because there's a lot in here. And I'm assuming, and I want to make sure that does need to be, I believe, approved by the board, is my understanding. Make sure it says here.
We're approving that you say you're in compliance,
That's the
basically.
report that we're in
Okay,
compliance,
okay.
correct.
We're not approving the specifics of each
Now,
item.
hold on one second, make sure. No, never mind, I don't think you have to make an approval. I have to make a report to the board, that's all.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
is there any discussion on that, or anybody want more information?
Well, when it was sent out in the email, I clicked on some of it and read through some stuff, so there's a ton out there, so. So you just wanna, are you bored and you wanna read some more? You can do it.
Okay, that'll bring us to 8.2, our basketball co-op agreement with Vernonia.
So we do not have the numbers for basketball for boys. And this is, I know it's one of those we sit there and look up and go, oh boy. I believe three students right now are interested in basketball on the boys' side. Vernonia, Jim Hellman, superintendent for Vernonia, same thing as with football, is open to having us move forward. Again, I have to get to the board and ask if that's something we're interested in doing. On a side note, I have been having discussions with Freeman about what are we doing to kind of push this forward. We've had the discussions with it last year, but we'll continue to have, how are we going to continue to cite these kids? We have the numbers for the boys at the high school, but the interest is not there at all. And literally the interest is not there. Wrestling was a whole different component. They're definitely interested, but basketball, they're.
Do you get any feedback from the students as to, is there a why that we know of?
Off the record, I could probably say a couple things, yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's all I'm gonna say. Off the record, I could tell you.
Okay.
Is it something that we can fix?
That's debatable. I mean, I don't mean to
Okay,
be.
I mean,
don't
is
mean- It's, I mean, it could, yes, it could be, but it's differences of viewpoints,
Okay.
differences of viewpoints.
And what about girls' basketball?
As far as I'm aware, yes, we will have a girls' basketball team.
Let's meet offline.
What is it?
Let's meet
Yeah,
offline.
if you want, as soon as we're done, maybe we can.
Perfect, thank you.
Now, are we going to provide transportation for these kids, since we have always had a basketball team and we just don't have the numbers now to get these kids to Vernonia, or is it something that we're just going to have the parents
I believe it'll be the same route as
say?
before.
Okay,
The communication Freeman's had is that there's no hiccup with that.
okay.
Yeah, that's what they're going to
Transportation can handle it.
It's just a question.
Well, I'd love for it to happen, but I don't think our transportation can do it.
Okay, do we need a motion on that, or is that an agreement?
Yeah, definitely.
Do we have a motion to,
I motion that we approve the boys basketball co-op.
do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. 9.0, superintendent report.
All right, cell phone policy, so And you guys take a look at this, the last round, it hasn't changed much. The only differentiation is under the pouch, damage, lost pouch using phone during school category, right in the middle of the whole document. We just a little bit more explicitly stated in bullet 3, or what is it, 7 bullet points are what we're looking at. So there hasn't been much change in that. I will say currently, the start of the cell phone pouch, it feels very awkward because we've had no pouches to start the year. And so there was not a lot of pushback from the students. Once we got the pouches in there, we have had some pushback with the pouches. It was not necessarily the aspect of not using the cell phone, it was the pouch symbolizes something. That a number of them are not wanting to acknowledge, I guess. And so we've had to double down the first day, you know, like everything else, you think you've got everything in place. What we didn't expect was to have a few students decide to not come into the cafeteria for breakfast and stay out in the parking lot in the vehicles. And when it was time to come in for the morning time, they come right in and sneak by the office and go to class. We got that right off the bat the very first day. And so through that process, we doubled down again. We had conversations with the team that's out at the cafeteria. It's not perfect yet, but the students are getting used to the idea that when we're coming down to sit down at 7:50 in the morning, it's 1 to say hello, and 2 make sure we've got the pouches. And we're trying to make the point across that even if you do not have a cell phone, because many of them don't have one, at least that's what they're claiming, and that's honestly, if I'm being honest with you, that's just as much fine with me as everything else, as long as we don't see them in the district. We still want them to have the pouches. We want to make sure that they have them. So if they don't have them, we ask them down in the locker rooms to grab, or in the lockers, excuse me, to grab them. But we're also giving them extra warnings here as this week rolls along that we cannot have you keep going down out of the breakfast room to go down there and grab them. I told Mr. Scott, by the time we get to the end of the week, if we're still having those comments 2 weeks later and we're still doing that with a couple kids, we need to start putting some lunch detentions out. Just to kind of say, hey, come on, the expectations, continue to call home. If we have students that do have a cell phone but forget their pouches, and I know we kind of struggled, myself included, with remembering sometimes that we do not provide them with extra pouches. We collect their device and take it to the office. And I heard you mention that today, I believe also, as one of those Homer Simpson moments. You sit there and go, oh, you know, you kind of forget sometimes where they're at. But the students overall are not arguing with us anymore, per se. We still have a few that are trying to get around it, but for the most part, it's going well. Superintendents had a meeting regarding this very specific topic. And so now I have the Annapolis School District is requesting the Jewel School District to help them side by side to go into this aspect, which is wonderful. So now we're going to be partnering, at least in my office, just a little bit to have some communications with the superintendent over there about how to move forward with contacting Yonder and moving forward with policies and whatnot, and having discussions of how things have went. That now means Astoria is now that direction. Seaside is in that direction, having wonderful results right now. Astoria is kind of like where we were without the pouches. They got approval, they got a grant to get those, so they're going to have those also come January. And then obviously Jewel, and then Napa, I really believe is moving into this arena. So that leaves Warrenton in Clackamas County that's watching the rest of us. And so currently, you know, you can attest, I haven't seen a whole lot of issues in the district with phones, have you?
Not really, but I would honestly say for the most part, I feel like it's gone well, for the most part. You know, we've had some, you know, a couple things, some hiccups and, you know, some things that we anticipated, but some things we didn't anticipate, you know, like Mr. Peterson was sharing earlier. But I think overall, I feel like it's going well. Majority of the students, not a pushback. They're not arguing. They're getting out their pouches to put their phones in there. They're locking them up in front of us. And I've had a couple students come by my office in the last week and a half and actually tell me in my office, they actually think this is a good idea. They're like, we actually talk and communicate. And I was like, that's good. Because that's, you know, there's one of many reasons why school districts, you know, across the United States are doing this. Now what is it, 80%, and that number continues to rise. But, you know, to have a couple of students come by my office and say, it's actually not that bad. We're actually talking. You go down to the cafeteria in the morning. Kids you don't have a table of 8 kids literally just on their phones all through breakfast. they're talking, they're communicating, they're laughing, they're having a good time, and just to see them interact, I mean, that's what this is about, is students socializing. And so I feel like it's going well, and I like seeing what I'm seeing in terms of student, peer-to-peer interaction.
And you and I know that we still know that there's cell phones out there. We have, obviously, we've been in education long enough to know that there's still cell phones out there. We know kids may have burner phones, and we know they may still doing this and that kind of stuff. But I will say to the level that we can manage at the current moment, while we do the best we can with what we're able to do, while we're teaching and working amongst the district, with the hope that the kids realize that we're trying to also put a lot of trust and respect in what we're doing here with them as well. And that in the end, the culture is another part of the culture change, is what we're trying to implement here, that we're trying to do this together. And kind of rid some of that drama that we've been having for so long here.
Yeah, I don't know if I can share anything else out, but around the cell phone, it's my opinion, but I really feel like, when I talked about earlier about our Swiss data and where we're at right now, compared to where we were a year ago, last October, I talked about last October quite a bit, and Mr. Peterson can attest to this because he and I spent some time in October with parents, a lot of cyberbullying that was happening in our school last October. I've had 0 reports this year. As what would be in week 8, 0 reports of any cyberbullying. Cramping down on cell phones, kids don't have access to them. And I think that's also contributing to, some of our behavior. I mean, in terms.
Oh, the information with the social emotional stuff and
Yeah.
suicide rates and depression, all those things. I mean, I'll be the first to say, I get addicted to my phone also. So in social media, I've learned that in this position, I don't want to really do it. But you get on there and you read some things and you can't tell me. I do it myself. If somebody sees or reads something, it can be damaging. Myself, if I read something about myself online, it's like, oh boy. Or maybe I partake in some of those things. It's just, it can be damning. Or the other side, it could be validating as well. And just to wipe that away, just at least for a small amount of time with the students' life in the district. So I don't want to belabor too much, but this has been so far only a month, 2 months in the school year so far. That's the one thing I mentioned when I first came up here. I mentioned that the one thing we haven't done in the district is this. And I can hear one teacher, I won't say who, stares me in the face and is screaming, "It's working!" I won't say who, but boy, they were very, very excited. So,
I
any
can't
questions?
imagine the kids with burner phones trying to get around it, but I mean, I know the kids are gonna, the end goal is not to see the phone in class, and I think we're winning. But I know as a kid, that's a challenge accepted, like, okay, I'm gonna see what I can get in there. So,
And I do want to state to the board, since I have you all here, if there are challenges, and there is a challenge out there, with some individuals out there that don't believe in this, and just letting you know, we are going through this and we're treating everybody the same. So if there's any issues or whatnot, I've asked this gentleman and myself and the staff, we're gonna follow this policy. And if that leads to someone in my office saying things that I don't want to be hearing, meaning language-wise, I will sit there and take just a small amount of it, but I will have that individual out of my office. Because it has come to that point a couple times in some areas. But again, partnership, school, family, kid. We're all want what's best. And I don't want to break that triangle, period. And so my response sometimes in my head is, well, okay, there's other school districts. You can go to Astoria, and then I kind of smile and say, oh, wait a minute. And I say, you can go to Seaside, and I say, oh, wait a minute. And I can say, you can go whoever, because they're all implementing these things. There's nowhere else to go. And I made a mission in my head, education, kids, education, number one. That's why this is all here. And I feel like this was a hindrance. Doesn't mean we will go back at some point and we can guide them, but at the current moment for this year, and I also told Mr. Scott next year, I want at least 2 years to filter this out, and then we can start rebuilding back at the high school level. Some usage. So.
Yeah, I've listened to both sides of it with, mainstream media. I don't know if everybody saw the news report at Seaside School. That was pretty entertaining part of it. But you listen to a lot of opposition of, I can't reach my student if there's an emergency going on. And at least Jewel, for one, I don't feel like, you're gonna get a message to your student really quickly here by going through the office, and every room has a phone. So I don't see that. Maybe some other school districts don't have that, but I don't see it being a long period of time between the office to the student if something's going on. At least my concern, I guess, but.
And I've seen students in the office utilizing the phone. If they want privacy, they've gone off a little bit. So it's been pretty normalized.
Have you seen much uptick in the students in the office wanting to do this?
Not really, no.
Yeah, see, it's just,
No. I mean, once in a while, you'll see a student up there, just, they call the parents because they forgot something.
sure.
But in terms of uptick in, student, traffic and access to the office,
Mhm.
no. No, it's quiet.
Well, good.
Yeah. 9.2, Board Superintendent Operating Agreement Meeting Update. So I'm assuming everybody had time to do the survey online.
No, not everyone did the doodle. But even after the doodle, after we've gone through the doodle, and I did call other individuals as well, we can't, out of all those dates I provided, we still don't have a way to get everybody on the same time frame. And so I called Vince Adams again, and provided some dates. He is very specific. I can't get him until, November 22nd or 23rd. I know I had time a little bit later today to kind of reach out a little bit. November 22nd is the earliest that we could do something, and that's a Friday, I believe, at 5:30. That's the earliest we get somebody. And I don't know if I can get anybody, if you guys can even confirm it here at all, but he's already reserved that spot if we can do it. I don't know how long. And he said
So we can attend virtually, correct?
And he said you could attend virtually. He would like to be in person, but I said,
Yeah.
it's fine, but I don't think we can get everybody.
23rd, you said?
22nd on a Friday, November.
So is he coming in person? Are we going to do the whole thing?
For
in-
the operating agreement, he would like to be in
Operating.
person.
Okay,
With the idea that if everybody can't make it, he could at least have them virtual.
I can commit to being here in person on that.
I can do.
Yeah, I think I can. I know I can at least virtually, but I will try to do person.
I can, like I told you on the earlier, 27, I can go either way. I can be here virtually or in person, whatever.
Okay. I know he'd prefer if you could be in person, but I told him I don't, it's hard to get everybody together on the same day. Mike, if you might be able to, or,
22nd, I should be able to do it.
okay,
5:30.
5:30, yeah. And I'll send something out tomorrow in the morning, right away, just so we have it on there. And if anything changes, obviously just yell. But if it needs to be virtual, he said that would be a problem. Okay, thank you.
9.3, HCP update.
So I threw this on here. I don't have a whole lot of changes. The court case that we have currently, there has been some movement, but I'm not able to tell you what it is at the current moment. If you would like to give me a call individually, I can do that, but I cannot give it in a public session. This is something that has recently happened. I know I spoke with TJ late last week, I believe, about some of the changes. I will at some point this week get a hold of you if you don't reach me, but there has been some move. There has been no decision by the judge yet. So I want to make sure that's very clear that the judge has not made a decision on the court case, whether or not we have standing to move forward at the moment. But there has been some extra information that has gone into the court case. That's all I'm going to say.
Is there, and pardon me if we talked about this, but is there a deadline that he can take
He can take as long
2
as he
years
wants.
if he wants, or
Yeah.
Well, originally we thought it was gonna be relative, yeah.
is there anything you can do to kind of light the fire underneath that, or is it something that you don't want to
No.
wait the
This is
sleeping
all-
dog, or?
There's
you know?
rules and etiquettes that I'm not privy of, but that was the very first thing I asked our attorney. Is can we probe, can we pry, can we see timelines, can we ask questions? He said, absolutely not. He said it's at the prerogative of the judge when he decides that he wants to make a ruling.
That was my question. Is there any obligation to us for, what's the word? Swift justice,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. what do you mean?
Is there any obligation the judge has to us for a reasonable amount of time spent to?
Well, I will mention to
Yeah.
John, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to allow the district to seek discovery, seek information, go out there and work on specific things that I can't speak about in a public session here. But boy, I'm trying to be careful what I'm able to say here. Long story short, no, we cannot push for a faster outcome from the judge.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was an established expectation or obligation the judge has to us, the plaintiff. Okay,
No. And the only thing that I can push for is when we start going down to budgeting season, Tammy and I want to know what are we budgeting for? And I don't know if that's even a reason that they can kind of push for this, but if we talked about July and you're talking about all of a sudden budgeting season with, February, March getting involved in that. And one of my goals to the board was also doing my own discovery about what are we going to be budgeting for? Regular budget, an altered budget, one that utilizes some of our reserves. All three of those aspects are in my head. I've got to present something, and if you know who I am, I'll present all three of them to you. To some degree, I don't know how that would look in the business part.
Poor Tammy.
I have to make 3 budgets.
I do feel like we should almost have to have at least 2 though. We have to have a backup.
My thought process is to have a regular budget. When I say regular, that means within conjunction what we had, I'm sorry, but one also with, worst case scenario, something involved. And then in between would be the medium, which would more likely depends on how much financial money, we lose, or do we delve into reserves or whatnot, versus what I'm also going to speak about these ICB update, which is the Council of Forest Trust Fund Counties, I can never say that correctly, CFTLC, and AOC, Brandon's person for putting legislative concept together, which is what he was tasked to do at the last CFTLC meeting. And that's supposed to be going in front of the governor's task force team, and that's supposed to hopefully get into the long session, which will start in January, which again is another Hail Mary, whether or not they put in some sort of legislative concept to help out the 4 school districts with some extra pot of money. So I hope that makes sense. There's a lot that has not been covered because it hasn't happened yet. They're working on it. And then TJ and myself will be meeting here in the district, I believe it's Thursday, is that right? Or Wednesday. With the various county commissioners and special interest groups here. So I believe, I don't know if Rob Davis is going to make it from the fire department. Lee and Thompson, I forget the other 2 counties. There's 2 other counties that are going to be coming out here, county commissioners.
Deschutes County and Wasco County, I believe.
And so we're going to be meeting somewhere here in the district, about 10 o'clock or so. And just kind of and correct me if I'm wrong, I had a few conversations with our Commissioner Thompson about these things. But getting a general idea of just the culture here in the district in terms of what we do in this specific school district in relations to the fire in the department, special interests, all the way down into the water situation we have down at Evergreen Acres, just understanding what is it that represents Jewel. And specifically for our district, Commissioner Thompson wants to make a good note of why are we an anchor building or an anchor district for our entire community, which my expression is without the school district, you have not much.
We have no
left.
community. We
I
have no
didn't want to be as blunt, but yeah. you don't
Yeah,
have
I mean,
community.
really, let's be clear. There was nothing.
And what my interpretation is, at least through the verbiage, and maybe you have a better understanding, is once we have the information and once we have this discussion, where is this stuff going to go? My assumption is the county commissioners will have their connections and the political people out there who kind of help spread the verbiage about how important this specific district is to this whole community. And that includes the fire and special interest groups as well. So this was kind of put together by our Commissioner Thompson about a week and a half ago or so. And so I'm kind of letting her take the reins on this one and see where she wants to go, and I'll play along and help as much as I can on Wednesday. So those are the 3 current areas that we're going right now with the HCP, the court case, the CFTLC legislative concept, and the county commissioner special interest stuff right now.
Yep.
Okay.
And in defense for the judge, I guess, with the case, I think he made it pretty clear that he didn't know anything about the HCP when it was presented to him, which is, about that thick. And I'm sure he has other stuff he's working on as well. So I don't know how anybody can have a good understanding of that, since nobody else does anyway, and move forward on a ruling quickly. So I'm assuming a lot of that's, he's scratching his head a lot, I'm sure. So.
in the it's just disappointing, right?
Right. No,
And I'm sure that we can all share that, general feeling about it, that, we're not seeing movement quicker, more efficiently. And especially something that's gonna hurt us financially like that, so.
Do you know if he has reached out to anybody to have some of this stuff explained to him?
The judge, I
Mhm.
have no idea.
Hmm.
I have no idea.
That would be interesting.
It would be
Who-
interesting.
Who does give them that information?
Yeah.
You know.
Because
I'm assuming he's
be-
gotta reach out to somebody.
Right.
Yeah, but
Gotta have help.
again, if you don't really understand and have lived through timber revenue from years ago, you're not gonna understand it.
Well, that's what I'm hoping, as TJ said, it's such a big ruling, I mean, it really is. when you
Yeah,
think
it's
about it,
huge.
To make a ruling off of something that you may not understand, so my hope is yes, he is doing his
Yeah.
due diligence.
Hopefully he's not finding his information from the Department of Forestry.
Exactly,
Have
that's
Tammy
what I'm
give that
concerned about.
slideshow.
Yeah, right,
Tammy's
Yeah.
PowerPoint would be helpful.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to know if he is reaching out, that he's getting the right information back.
Like I said, I will, but I've already talked to this gentleman, person last week, Thursday, Friday, another 2 days, and I'll speak to the other four of you guys, sometime this week, I'll give you a call, because there's been some changes. I'll do it, not obviously in public, because it's not public record yet.
Yeah. You good on that?
Good. Mhm.
10.0, audience clarifications.
The Unity Day.
What was that?
The Unity Day.
Unity.
Yeah,
Day.
Unity
Day.
Oh, I'm sorry. And before, and I was gonna bring a T-shirt down. I didn't bring a T-shirt down, darn it. And so, well, you know what? I'm doing something I shouldn't do. I'm pulling my cell phone out. Let me pull it up here. I can see it. Here we go. So, I mean, this is just a few of the staff members you can see here. So I had staff members, everybody, including the entire student body here. Wearing orange, again, this is after school, so we got everybody together. We tried last year, so Unity Day, so Mr. Scott mentioned about October is pretty busy. And so the idea of Unity Day is an actual national, what do you want to call it?
Anti-bullying.
An anti-bullying campaign
Yeah.
is it called Pacer, I believe, is the organization Pacer. And so last year we tried to move into it. We literally could not get to it because of the amount of stuff that we're dealing with. We tried to do an anti-bullying campaign. Later on we ended up doing an assembly and a few other things within the district, code of conduct and families. But the early onset, when you and I were sitting there going, we can't breathe out of our offices here, we thought this could be at least kind of a visual message to get out. They wouldn't solve everything, but be a visual message. And so we couldn't quite get there. So we were a little bit further ahead this year. We didn't quite get to where we wanted, again, completely with the concept of it. We utilized some of our ESSER funds, which are going to expire anyways. They're now expired. And we purchased a T-shirt for every single kid here. And it just talked about unity and discipline in terms of working hard together and focusing that we're all doing this for good nature, to be kind and supportive of one another. And so through the process, we had a number of things. We were thinking about having everything in orange on this past Friday in the cafeteria, but we had a lack of coverage in the cafeteria, absences and whatnot, so that caused a hiccup there. I don't know if we got the screens and so we were planning on getting all the screens covered in orange on our web pages as well. We got the flyers all across everywhere. People were going to have orange challenges. The counselor was going to be putting together an assembly that she had, but she was not feeling well for 4 days of the 5 days leading to the assembly, as if something is trying to kneecap this from the very beginning. She has the Unity rocks ready to be painted, so the whole month of October is supposed to be Unity month. I know. And so here we are. So she
By November.
Yeah. So for the rest of the month, I know she's going to get into classes and have positive messages with the older kids, coming in with the younger kids and building positive messages.
Should have put HCP with a cross mark
Yeah.
through it. Every single one, or on the front of everyone, then take the picture.
That's
So-
timber unity, that's different.
So there'll still be activities going on, but again, it's just another extension and reminder of what we're doing here with our expectations for behaviors and kindness towards one another, from students over to staff. So that will continue to be pushed forward. Next year, I talked with Natalie. putting a little committee together, so she's not the only one who's running these things. So if she is ill again for 2 or 3 days, that we have other people backup plans. Because by the time we got to Wednesday, I looked at George and said,
Yeah.
no. So anyways, but it was a better attempt than last year. I can smile because it wasn't detrimental to the district, but it was something that we're, again, trying to push in a positive way. We did a valid attempt. Just want you to realize we're still very human. Didn't quite work to the way we had thought, but better than last year.
Do the t-shirts say October on them?
I don't know. I think we're gonna wear them on Halloween, I think.
Well, yeah.
That's the plan.
Incremental progress.
On that one, yes.
Okay, 10.0 audience clarification. Good on that. 11.0 director's time. Director Womack, you want to go ahead?
Just finally back for a little bit, so I don't really have much. Just trying to catch back up. I spent a lot of time in Peterson's office, staying on top.
Director Drew?
Glad to see the cell phones are coming along. Have our illnesses come down?
Yeah, after those 2 days, everything just
Oh, good.
dropped. Yep.
Everybody's kind of got it. Okay. I'm glad to see everything's working, getting better. That's all we can hope for. So, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to hear the students are doing better in school and grades are doing better. I'm interested to know a little bit if some of that is how much 1 or 2 students that may be here or not here have affected that a lot. You know,
Sure.
if it's a huge number or not.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think, you know, it takes one person here to really skew our numbers a lot. It seems like, but as long as we're still going in the right direction, that's all we can ask for. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd agree with everybody so far. Test scores and improvements are great to hear. Any data feedback is good, but positive feedback is great, right? And I really think a lot about that. So, and then the basketball co-op, right? Expanding that opportunity for students to play sports, I'm a huge fan of, and I'm very open about that. It's a big deal, right? Students learn a lot about life through team sports. And then the cell phone feedback, it's good to hear the feedback from decisions made in this very room during this meeting is really good to hear the feedback from. So hats off to you guys.
Well, I applaud the effort put into establishing testing and benchmarking so that you can then take that and start working on ways to utilize it and keep improving. And the fact that, you know, there is an upward trend in the results is good, but I don't like the numbers, honestly. I can see we're strong in science. We can improve still. The math, it'll be very, very interesting to know what it is that is still needed. And I do not intend to come across in a negative or pejorative way at all. All I'm saying is that one of the reasons I'm here is to see the students succeed. And with some of these results, I'm like, wow, there's some real needs going, obviously. And yes, I think COVID had a huge impact on certain age groups. So given the amount of passion and effort I see, I believe that there's going to be brighter days ahead, but I personally am concerned. So I appreciate you sharing that. And then again, the cell phone policy, I think it's already, as you say, showing good results and what we hope for, and that's fabulous. And the fact that we're not the only one doing it. Go Jewel. Thank you.
Can I address the math really quick? Is that
Yeah,
fine?
go ahead.
And just the math, because at our superintendent meeting, we had that discussion also about the math, and all Clatsop County schools are about the same or lower than us. And so there's a big initiative right now with the Clatsop County superintendents. We are focusing strictly on some math structure, I guess is the correct word, working directly with kind of like the Northwest Regional ESD's version over in Idaho. We have a connection with our superintendents, we were live on a session with them. So there's going to be a conversation all year with the superintendents regarding math, and I'll
Great.
with this gentleman, and also our math department as well.
Oh, good. Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
So 12.0 items for future meeting, we have policy updates and superintendent evaluation phase 4.
Did we have phase 3 yet? Or-
I don't think so.
I'm not sure if we have
Just
phase
kind of
3.
formulated it.
All right, that's it. We'll take a motion to adjourn.
All motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
We have adjourned, 7:05.